Hi, my name's Steve Torsa. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Wholesale Investor. A few weeks ago, we hosted a virtual business summit, and the idea behind that was we just saw the issues that were taking place in the market, and obviously everyone trying to quickly adapt to sort of these unique times. And we thought, you know what we want to do is we want to provide founders with a different perspective. We want to give them, I suppose, access to leaders that can provide options. Now, so as I was going to say, as part of that, actually, we hosted, it was basically compartmentalized into four different elements as far as saving money, growing, also getting access to capital, and then the mental health part. Now we're going to turn that attention to investors. So on Friday next week, we are hosting our first virtual venture investment summit. Funny enough, we actually want to do this as a live event, but obviously the idea behind this is we want to give investors a different perspective. And there's a beautiful quote which was sort of headlined as part of this, and it comes from Warren Buffett. And he said, this is sort of going back 2008, where he basically went online, in an interview and said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful." And the word greed obviously has issues with some people, but the idea was really the same. And the idea was basically, we know that in this type of marketplace, some investors are dealing with two different types of responses. The first part of crisis is effectively problems, right? And the first layer of when this sort of first started to happen, I was having lots of different conversations with investors, and they kept on saying the exact same thing, in that they were basically compartmentalizing how they were proactively sort of approaching this. And one part was dealing with some of the challenges that were facing their existing investee companies. And then the other part was they were looking for investment opportunities, or they were looking to invest more into some of their existing companies where there was an opportunity being created. And it's that perfect of, crisis creates two sides, the problem and the opportunity. And that is no more truer than this type of environment. And lately, over this last couple of weeks, when I've been speaking to investors, they've really been focusing on that opportunistic part. And you also see it in the markets as well, where you've got companies like Atomo Diagnostics listing and having great success with that listing, and then other healthcare companies. Also, you're seeing in some of the research and reports that are coming out where investors are now focusing more on sort of, obviously, they're focusing on software-driven companies, AI, technology, but also obviously health tech companies are really sort of coming onto the forefront. You've seen companies like Zoom where their share price has just gone like this in this period. So there's always going to be winners and there's always going to be losers. So we wanted to put on the Venture Investment Summit because we are incredibly lucky that we've got access to some very smart people that operate in this environment. And we thought, what better way to do that than to actually, across one day, give you access to 20 investors, right? And for you to hear how they're approaching this. More than that, each sector will be looked at as part of it. So some of the sectors will be going across. Obviously, venture capital, we want to understand how the VCs are approaching this marketplace. We want to understand how angels are approaching this marketplace. Healthcare has obviously been a massive sector that's going to be benefiting from this as an investment sort of going forward. The area of telehealth, become almost a buzzword for a few weeks when the government sort of almost mandated it as an option. How does it impact fund managers? What areas are they actually looking at? How does it impact blockchain? How does it impact crypto? How does it impact fintech, advanced tech? All these sectors are all relevant. These are sectors that were going hot, that were actually hot going in, or had high interest rates sort of going in to this period. Now, how are the investors approaching it? Whenever I sit down with the investor, I want to understand what their thesis is. I want to understand what is the underlying driving question that they're sort of thinking about day in and day out in the opportunities they look for. Of course, when you speak to people, they're always talking about so many different factors as far as, all the different metrics that they're looking for. But underlying that, they typically have a thesis. Out of that thesis comes all the different metrics that they're sort of looking for in a business. So said one day, 20 investors, Venture Investment Summit is your opportunity to find out how investors are approaching this marketplace. I just don't think we could have done anything better for the ecosystem than do this, because the question that we get asked from a lot of people is, how are investors approaching this, or how are investors feeling, or have the investors gone quiet? And what people don't realize is, understand, for you as an investor, this is almost a once in a decade opportunity to be getting access to opportunities that you may not have been access to, whether it be at valuations or at market prices that just weren't available previously. right? Because of how the economy was performing and so forth, and the sort of sentiment in the marketplace. So look, we understand this is a prime opportunity time for investors. So our perspective is we want to get 20 of some of the smartest people that we know, and we want them to share their perspective with you. But more than that, there's opportunities to participate with them. Some of them have funds which are raising. Some of them are also just, basically just sharing their thoughts on how they're approaching it. We're incredibly lucky that they've been able to provide you with this opportunity to come and join us for the Venture Investment Summit. So May 8th, one day, 20 investors, going to be back to back talking about how they're approaching this marketplace, how they're investing, what they're looking for, how they're working with founders, how they're helping founders, what are the key aspects they're looking in for founders, all the things that you've probably been thinking about and wondering about. This is what we want them to share across that one day so that you've got this content with you. And from our perspective, we are trying to do the best by you as an ecosystem so that you have knowledge, or at least have new thoughts on your own sort of thesis of how you're approaching the marketplace so you can capitalize on the opportunities that are going to be coming going forward. So look forward to you joining us, and see you on May 8th.